In the ancient land of Judah, a silence fell. The word of the Lord came to Joel, the son of Pethuel. A story etched, not in stone, but in the dust of a broken land, a message for generations yet to come. Hear this, you elders. Listen, all who live in the land. Has anything like this ever happened in your days or in the days of your ancestors? Tell it to your children, and let your children tell it to their children, and their children to the next generation. This was a sorrow that must never be forgotten. What the gnawing locust has left, the swarming locust has eaten. What the swarming locust has left, the crawling locust has eaten. And what the crawling locust has left, the consuming locust has eaten. A relentless tide of devastation, wave after wave, each more complete than the last. The land, once a tapestry of green vineyards and blossoming fig trees, was stripped bare. An invading nation, powerful and without number, had descended upon it. Its teeth were the teeth of a lion, its fangs like a lioness. It laid waste to the vines and splintered the fig trees, stripping off their bark and throwing it away, leaving their branches white and exposed. Wake up, you who love wine, and weep. Wail, all you drinkers of wine. Wail because of the new wine, for it has been snatched from your lips. In the marketplace, where laughter once echoed, a heavy quiet now hangs. The baskets are empty, the wine jars overturned. The joy of the harvest has vanished. The priests, who ministered before the Lord, were commanded to put on sackcloth and mourn. Go, spend the night in sackcloth, you who minister before my God. For the grain offerings and drink offerings are withheld from the house of your God. The altar, once a place of celebration and thanksgiving, now stood as a silent witness to the land's deep ache. The holy courts were filled not with praise, but with the sound of weeping. Grieve like a young woman in sackcloth mourning the husband of her youth. The fields are ruined, the ground is dried up, the grain is destroyed, the new wine is dried up, the olive oil fails. Despair, you farmers, wail. You vine growers, grieve for the wheat and the barley, because the harvest of the field is destroyed. The vine is dried up, and the fig tree is withered, the pomegranate, the palm, and the apple tree all. The trees of the field are dried up. Surely the joy of mankind is withered away, the laughter of children is faded, replaced by the somber quiet of their parents' grief. Tools lie abandoned where they fell, their purpose lost in a sea of dust. The earth itself seems to hold its breath, cracked and thirsty, waiting for a relief that does not come. Consecrate, a fasco le secres assemble. Summon the elders and all who live in the land to the house of the Lord your God, and cry out to the Lord. A nation united not in celebration, but in shared desperation. In humility, they gathered, their faces etched with sorrow, their hearts turned toward the heavens in a collective plea for mercy. Alas for that day, for the day of the Lord is near. It will come as destruction from the Almighty. What misery! The food is destroyed before our very eyes. Joy and gladness are gone from the house of our God. The seeds are shriveled beneath the clods. The storehouses are in ruins. The granaries have been broken down, for the grain has dried up. The sky itself seemed to darken, mirroring the gloom that had settled over the people's hearts. How the animals groan. The heads of cattle wander in confusion because they have no pasture. Even the flocks of sheep are suffering. The life-giving streams have turned to cracked earth, the watering holes to pits of dust. Every living thing cried out from the depths of its being, a chorus of thirst and hunger rising from the desolate plains. To you, Lord, I call. For fire has devoured the pastures in the wilderness, and flames have scorched all the trees of the field. Even the wild animals pant for you. The streams of water have dried up. In the falling light, a lone figure stands against the horizon, a prophet, a watchman. His voice, a final, desperate prayer, lifting the sorrow of an entire nation into the hands of a God who listens, even when the land itself has gone silent. Blow the trumpet in Zion. Sound the alarm on my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming. It is near. The sound of the shofar echoes from the city walls, a piercing cry that cuts through the early morning air. Below, in the streets of Jerusalem, people stop and look up, their faces etched with a dawning fear. On the horizon, dark shapes gather, a terrifying premonition of what is to come. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, like the morning clouds spread over the mountains. Look, a great and powerful army is coming, such as has never been before, nor will ever be again for many generations. The sky, once a canvas of dawn, is now being consumed by an unnatural, rolling blackness. It pours over the mountains like a tidal wave of shadow. This is no ordinary storm. From within the darkness, a shape emerges, vast, living cloud. A swarm of locusts so immense it blots out the light, advancing like a relentless storm front upon the land. Their approach is like the thunder of chariots on the mountaintops, like the crackling of a fiery flame devouring stubble. They are like a mighty army drawn up for battle. On T ground, they move with a terrifying unity, an endless river of crawling, devouring life. They surge over the hills in coordinated waves, their movements synchronized, a disciplined legion of destruction. They march like soldiers, each one in its rank, an unstoppable force sent to execute a divine judgment. Before them, the land is like the Garden of Eden, a paradise of green fields, lush vineyards, and fruitful trees, teeming with life and abundance. But behind them, it becomes a desolate wilderness. The vibrant green gives way to a barren, scorched brown. The earth is stripped bare, every leaf, every blade of grass consumed. Nothing escapes them. The land mourns, its beauty turned to ashes, a silent testament to the devouring power that has passed over it. They swarm over the city, a living plague. They scale the walls like warriors. They enter through the windows like thieves in the night. The rooftops are covered. The narrow streets are darkened as the sky above fills with their ceaseless, buzzing multitude. There is no escape, no sanctuary. The city itself is being consumed, house by house, stone by stone, under the weight of this overwhelming invasion. The people hide, but there is nowhere to hide from a judgment that fills the very air they breathe. The heavens themselves tremble before them. The sun and moon grow dark, their light fading as if in mourning. The stars withdraw their shining, lost in the cosmic gloom. The very foundations of the world seem to shake. The earth quakes, the trees shudder, as creation itself recoils from the presence of this mighty army. This is not just an earthly disaster. It is a sign from the heavens, a disruption of the natural order that points to the awesome power of the one who commands it. And who is it that commands this terrifying host? Above the clouds, a silhouette of divine majesty appears, cloaked in brilliant, blinding light. It is the Lord. At his voice, the great army advances. It leads him, his voice thundering over the ranks of his countless soldiers. The locusts are his instrument, moving in perfect formation under his command. The sheer scale is unimaginable, a sight of terrible and awesome power. For the day of the Lord is great and very awesome. Who can endure it? Yet even now, says the Lord, return to me with all your heart, with fasting, with weeping, and with mourning. Rend your heart and not your garments. Inside the temple courtyard, a desperate plea rises. The people have gathered, clothed in sackcloth, their faces streaked with tears and ashes. The priests, the ministers of the Lord, weep between the temple's portico and the altar, crying out, "Spare your people, O Lord, and make not your heritage a reproach, a byword among the nations." Then the Lord became jealous for his land and had pity on his people. And in his compassion, he answers. The transformation begins. The barren, brown landscape starts to heal. A gentle rain falls, washing away the dust of destruction. Life returns. Tender green shoots push through the soil. Trees begin to bud, and the vines, once skeletal and bare, now show the promise of new fruit. A wave of restoration sweeps across the hills, a visual promise that God is turning back the tide of devastation. The Lord declares, I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten. The promise is fulfilled in a harvest of impossible abundance. The threshing floors are full of wheat. The vats overflow with new wine and oil. Families, once starving, now smile as they gather the bountiful crops. The land is bathed in a warm, golden sunlight. A symbol of God's favor returned. The sounds of joy and thanksgiving replaced the cries of despair. There is more than enough. There is fullness and satisfaction, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. Across the restored land, this divine promise unfolds. Men and women, young and old, from every walk of life, gaze upward, their faces illuminated by a subtle, holy light. They are connected to something greater, experiencing visions and prophecies. For in those days, even on the male and female servants, the Spirit will be poured out, and everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. Jerusalem rests on her hill as dawn slowly breaks. The scars of judgment still mark the land, yet a quiet hope begins to rise with the light. Beyond her walls lies a valley wrapped in mist, a valley where God himself will call the nations to account. The Lord has spoken of a time to come when he will restore the fortunes of Judah and Jerusalem. The land that once lay stripped and wasted begins to show signs of life again. But restoration is not the end of the story. It is the setting for something even greater. God declares, "In those days and at that time, I will gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat here. In this quiet valley, he will put them on trial for what they have done to his inheritance, his people Israel, for scattering them among the nations and dividing up his land as though it were their own. They cast lots for his people, trading boys for the price of pleasure and selling girls for a drink of wine. They seized his silver and his gold, took his finest treasures into their temples. They sold the people of Judah and Jerusalem to distant lands, sending them far from home. The nations forgot that these were not just any people, they were God. The Lord turns his gaze toward Tyre, Sidon, and the regions of Philistia. What do you have against me? He asks. Are you repaying me for something I have done? If you think you are paying me back, what you have done will swiftly return on your own heads. The Lord promises to rouse his scattered people and bring them back from the places they were sold. The injustice they suffered will not be left unanswered. Then a strange command goes out among the nations. Prepare for war. Rouse the warriors. Let all the fighting men draw near. Plowshares are beaten into swords, pruning hooks into spears. Even the weak say, I am strong. The nations gather all their might, all their pride, and march toward the valley where God will judge them. Come quickly, all you nations, from every side, Joel cries, and assemble here. The valley fills with people, multitudes upon multitudes in the valley of decision. Here, the nations stand before the Lord, their choices, their violence, their pride laid open before him. The Lord sighs, let the nations be roused. Let them advance into the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there I will sit to judge all the nations on every side. Joel sees judgment pictured as a harvest, a sickle swung over ripe fields, a winepress overflowing with grapes, because the wickedness of the nations has reached its fullness. The day of the Lord draws near. The sun and moon are darkened, and the stars lose their shine. The earth and the heavens tremble as the Lord roars from Zion and thunders from Jerusalem. Before him, no nation can hide. No injustice can remain buried. Yet even as the nations tremble, the Lord is a refuge for his people, a stronghold for the people of Israel. In the storm of his justice, he himself becomes the shelter for those who belong to him. Then the Lord declares, you will know that I, the Lord your God, dwell in Zion, my holy hill. Jerusalem will be holy. No more invading armies crashing through her gates. In that day, the mountains will drip with new wine, the hills will flow with milk, and all the ravines of Judah will run with water. A fountain will flow from the house of the Lord, bringing life even to dry valleys. Egypt will become desolate. Edom will be a desert waste, because of the violence they did to the people of Judah and the innocent blood they shed. But Judah will be inhabited forever, and Jerusalem through all generations. God asks, Shall I leave their innocent blood unavenged? And answers, no, I will not. The story concludes with this powerful truth. The Lord dwells in Zion. Now that we have walked through this vision of Joel 3, we see a God who does not ignore evil and who does not abandon his people. He gathers the nations to account for their violence, yet he also restores, protects, and blesses those who are his. The Valley of Decision is not only a place in Joel's prophecy, it is a reminder that all of us live, with choices about whose side we stand on, what we do with power, and where we run for refuge. As you think about the Valley of Decision, what choice is God inviting you to make today about where you stand with the shifting ways of the world, or under his just and loving rule?